All right, Council, it's 5 o'clock, so I'm going to call this meeting to order. Time to get down to business. Today we acknowledge that this meeting is taking place on the traditional territory of the Indigenous peoples of Turtle Island. We are thankful to share in the special spirit of this place, rich in the energy of Mother Earth, our ancestors, and the love of all creation. And just a reminder to Council that tomorrow we have our SIC meeting at the Curling Club starting at 1:30 p.m. For the Indigenous sensitivity training, and that session is open to the public. It will not be live streamed, so if you're interested in attending, we will be at the Curling Club tomorrow afternoon. And I guess we are, to explain, we're not doing a protest against ties. And we have now started our summer dress code, so ties are optional. And with that being said, I'll look to the Deputy Mayor for the adoption of the agenda.
Thank you, Mayor Saunderson. I have an amended adoption. It's moved by me, seconded by Councillor Jeffrey. Be it resolved that the content of the Council agenda for June 24th, 2019 be adopted as amended. And we're adding motion development 043-2019 as approved by the Development and Operations Standing Committee resulting from the Greenland deputation.
And I think we will entertain that motion under 11.3 with the Standing Committee report. Thank you for that. I will call the vote then. All in favor? Is carried unanimously. Declarations of pecuniary interest. Anyone have a declaration tonight? Councillor Hamlin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My continuing conflict is the same as appears on paragraph 11.1.3. My lawyer and my husband's firm acts for the owner of that property.
Thank you. Any other declarations? Councillor Madigan.
Just for openness and transparency for the deputation tonight at 7.1 regarding a sidewalk patio. If people don't know, I've had a business in downtown Collingwood for many years, and I don't think that I hold any pecuniary interest when this young lady gets her patio, or if she does. So, thank you.
Thank you for that. Seeing no others, if you find yourself in that situation, just let us know and tell us the general nature thereof. Moving on to the adoption of the minutes then. Councillor MacLeod.
Moved by Councillor MacLeod and seconded by Councillor Madigan. Be it resolved that Council approve the minutes of the regular meeting of Council held June the 10th, 2019 as presented.
Thank you. Council, any errors or omissions? Councillor Comey.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just quickly, under other business from those minutes, I had also asked with regard to the Engage Collingwood proceeds sale survey if those results could be shared with Council.
Okay, so something to that? Is that something we need to add? You want to include that
Yes, please.
request? Okay, so that was under other business.
17.2.2.
Just going to make a note of that. Yeah, so Colin, if you could just repeat you raised, I think, an issue you wanted to report back on.
I had asked if the quantifiable results from the Engage Collingwood survey on the asset sale proceeds could be shared with Council.
Yes, we'll make that change.
Thank you.
Any other errors or omissions, Council? Seeing none, then I'll call the vote. All in favor? That's carried unanimously. Any business arising from the previous minutes? Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Saunderson. I just, if I may, pose a question through you to the CAO specific to the deputation from 2 weeks ago with regards to out of the cold, I should say. Prefacing my comments by saying I think that there's a general consensus around the table that we have a concern within the community we'd like to address. And given the fact that there's some time sensitivity and the fact that we don't sit for the summer, how can we assist, or what steps are being taken place to work with this particular group at potentially giving them funding and or assistance in kind or in physical space per se?
Yeah.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and through you, Your Worship. So we can continue to work with this group to look at opportunities to provide them with support. I acknowledge that the support needs to occur on a timely basis, so if there is a need for us to provide funding over and above what can be approved by staff, I will find a way to get that matter before council, either through a special meeting or through some other form of direct communication with members of council.
Just a follow-up, so everyone at the table, I apologize, I didn't have an opportunity. Typically would have reached out to you prior to the meeting, so I appreciate the answer on the spot here this evening. Thank you.
Always the right answer.
Any other business arising from previous minutes? Seeing none, then we'll get into community announcements, and we'll start with the deputy mayor.
I have nothing this evening. Thank you.
Councillor McLeod.
I have nothing this evening.
Councillor Coney.
Oh, I'd like to make up for that. Thank you, Your Worship. Two quick ones. I'm very excited to speak about a new initiative taken on by the BIA called Come Alive at 5, with many of our fantastic downtown shops and restaurants welcoming customers to shop, sip, and dine in the early evenings on Thursdays and Fridays throughout July and August. For lots of great information about this and many other events, including local live lunch and the farmers market, be sure to visit collingwooddowntown.com. And then quickly, as many as you know, this is the last week of school, which means our streets will once again be filled with children enjoying the outdoors, whether by riding their bike or walking to one of our many parks or playing ball hockey in the street. Please accept this as a reminder for our motorists to slow down, watch for cyclists, and watch for children. Let's all have a safe summer. Thank you.
Councillor Madigan.
I have nothing this evening, sir.
Councillor Doherty.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. And just following up on previous mentions of the Engage Collingwood surveys, I just will remind residents that there are two important surveys that are living on our website right now, collingwood.ca. The first, of course, is the survey seeking community input for the disposition of the proceeds of the asset sales. Very important survey, so everyone is entitled to have their say. And also the Urban Forest Management Plan survey is still on the website, and in this case the researchers are looking for information and opinions on creating a sustainable community forest and how we can create policies that will impact both public and private spaces. And that is it for me, Marcia. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Doherty. That survey, I think, remains online. I'll look to add them until June 30th. So that's coming up this weekend. There will also be town hall meetings and public sessions as well. But if you get an opportunity, we encourage you please go online and fill out that important survey. Thank you, Councillor Doherty. Councillor Berman.
I have nothing. Thank you.
Councillor Jeffrey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to wish everyone an awesome Canada Day. I know we're all fiercely proud to be Canadian within the basketball world and outside of it. And I know that Director Culver and his staff have been working on a lot of activities for everyone over the few days. So anyway, hope everybody has a good one.
Thank you. Councillor Hamlin.
I have nothing this evening, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, that was quick tonight. I will just add a couple of things further to Councillor Jeffrey's comments. We are going to be having a Canada Day long weekend, so there will be events in the downtown core, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And there will be a fishing derby, entertainment, live music, and on-water events. So go online to experience Collingwood, either through Facebook or Instagram, and the schedule of events is there, as it will be on the town website. And it's a full day on Monday, starting off with the annual celebrity pancake breakfast, and we'll have many council members out there cooking your pancakes and sausages to perfection to start the day, and it will be a full day ending up with a Canada Day concert down at the what's left me at the Shipyard Amphitheater. Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. And the lead act is Summer of '69, a Bryan Adams tribute band, so that's about as Canadian as you can get. And then there'll be fireworks in the harbor. So we look forward to seeing everyone out on the Canada Day events. On this Saturday as well, there is the Arts and Music Festival. It will start at 9 a.m. in the morning at the Simcoe Street Theatre in Tremont Square, and will run until 6 p.m. that night. And there will be awards for the artists that are performing on site, and there will also be a Mayor's Art Battle with myself, Mayor Bafulci of Wasaga Beach, and Mayor Measures of Clearview. And I don't have any artistic skills, so I will need all the support I can get. If you're in the area, please come out and cheer us on. And further to Councillor Comey's comments, this is a week of graduation, so Jean Vanier and CCI, I think, have their graduation tomorrow afternoon, and St. Mary's, as well as the other elementary schools. So it'll be a busy week, and the kids will be full of excitement, and so our streets will be busy with active children, so drive safely. And we do have more of those photo cell speed signs going up around town, so please look for those and obey them. We are getting busier here in town, and with more people we have more cars, but also more children, so let's be careful. And one final announcement, a local entrepreneur, Larry Law and Living Waters, was recognized recently with Tourism Canada's HR Service Award, and that stemmed from the you may recall in the winter there was an investigation by the OPP that found about 30 migrant Mexican workers who were being trafficked, and Living Waters provided shelter and employment to those individuals while they were being relocated, and they were recognized nationally for that effort. So it's a great testament to Living Waters, but also to Collingwood and the type of culture we have here. So congratulations to Living Waters and Larry Law and all the employees there that put out or came to the rescue of those individuals. That is it for public announcements. We have no public meetings tonight. So a deputation 7.1, Heather Favalero, please come forward. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm a very nervous public speaker, so just bear with me while I read to you.
Take your time. We took our ties off to make you more relaxed today. So.
Good evening, Mayor Saunderson, Deputy Mayor Hull, and members of the council. Thank you for allowing me to come tonight and speak to you on what I think is a great opportunity, not only for OMFEM, but also for the neighboring businesses taking part in the town of Collingwood. My name is Heather Favalero. I'm the owner of OMFEM at 69 here Ontario Street. OMFEM has been a part of the Collingwood downtown since July of last year. For those of you unfamiliar with my store, I offer men's and women's clothing, accessories, apothecaries, gifting, and more. In addition to the storefront retail offering, I launched the OMFEM website this past December, which has received sales from Canada, the US, and overseas into Europe and Asia. I've been highlighted in the brand deck for a leading Canadian jewelry designer, Jenny Bird, as one of their top specialty boutique accounts. This brand deck is circulated all over the world, truly helping to put OMFEM and Collingwood on the map. I've held multiple successful events in the shop, bringing in local businesses, including services, restaurants, artists, and more. And in addition to this, I've also brought in businesses from outside of the Collingwood area to really expand the reach of my events in the shop. I've embraced events taking place downtown over this past year, from Elvis to the Art Crawl and all others in between, as I love being able to say that I'm a part of downtown. I'm coming to you today to discuss my intention to have a patio approved for OMFEM and for council to consider supporting this application as a pilot project for the 2019 patio season. Since returning to Collingwood area, for which I grew up in, and opening up the store, I've been trying to create a new offering with the type of goods being sold as well as the events I've been running. I want to continue to create new and exclusive experiences for both visitors and locals to OMFEM and Collingwood. As most of you know, retail is dramatically changing, and especially bricks and mortar. Now more than ever, in order to be successful and survive these changes, we must create memorable experiences for our customers. There are retailers all over the world adding on the option of a lounge and/or cafe to their physical locations. This offers a unique experience rather than a retail store alone. These retailers have seen great success and as a result have turned their establishments into destination spots as a must-go. These unique experiences are also helping to keep people shopping at bricks and mortar instead of resorting to online shopping. And it especially keeps people spending more time in these areas where these stores are located, as a result, spending more money in these areas. I feel extremely lucky to be a part of the main street of Collingwood, especially to be in the specific location I am. The sun shines down on Femme in the warm months from 11 in the morning until after 7 at night. I'm the prime spot not only for passers-by, but especially for those to stay. What I'm looking to do is to create a new experience for both locals and visitors to Femme and Collingwood downtown. On a daily basis, I'm answering questions from guests requesting places to eat and shop. I'm constantly suggesting different local business destinations that perhaps are not as lucky to be located on the main street and have the advantage of walk-by traffic. In addition to offering a place to stop and stay to enjoy a drink while taking in the bustling downtown, I want to continue to work together with our local businesses by offering up an HF Fave snack menu. This menu consists of a handful of local restaurants within walking distance to the shop, serving up one of their signature snacks. I've provided you, I believe, with a sample of the menu that I've mocked up so far. So this consists of a handful provided. It includes the restaurant's logos, their address, a phone number, as well as their Instagram handle. So guests can book reservations or simply check each establishment out by searching through social media. These local businesses you see listed on the menu are fully supportive of this project and ecstatic with the potential of something like this for Collingwood. The food will be a snack portion of an item from their menu as a preview of what they can find should they visit any of these restaurants. On the back side of the menu will be a map of downtown with current location as well as the listed participants. I want to continue to contribute to the downtown Collingwood visitor experience by working with local partners to make shopping and visiting downtown engaging and memorable so that they come back as well as tell their friends who tell their friends and so on. I've had nothing but positive feedback and excitement from those that I've brought this idea to, both guests and local businesses. This is not only a way to keep Collingwood current, but will in fact make us innovational in our offerings. Please help me to be able to bring this unique experience to Femme and downtown. Thank you.
Thank you. You did a great job. Council, any questions? No, do we have a motion then, Councillor Comey?
I do. Moved by me and seconded by Councillor Doherty. Be it resolved that Council support the application from 69A here Ontario Street in principle as a one-year pilot project for the use of the patio for food and beverage exclusively, and that the pilot project be reviewed with the BIA Board of Management and staff at the completion of the 2019 patio season.
Council, any questions or comments before I call the vote? Councillor Madigan.
Just to bring a little bit of clarity, I think this is a fantastic idea, and I think tonight when we show her unanimous support, it'll show the businesses downtown that we're here to help them. But there is another store downtown that already has a patio that does not do any food, and that is the Paint Bar. So this isn't really a pilot project because there's already somebody out there doing it. But I think tonight's going to be a pretty easy decision. But just to point out that there are other businesses in the downtown that do have a patio that do not serve food whatsoever.
Well, so we'll clarify that. Okay, we'll do that, but we're dealing with this motion for the moment. So unless there's any questions or comments, I'm going to call the vote. All in favor? And it's carried unanimously. There you go. You got a future in politics.
I just have to get rid of the shape.
All right then, consent agenda.
Okay, that's me again. Moved by me and seconded by Councillor Doherty. Be it resolved that the general consent agenda, having been given due consideration by council, be received, and those are items 8.1 and 8.2.
Thank you. First I'll call the vote and then I'll ask if there are any items to be pulled. So, calling the vote then, all in favor? Are there any items that council members would like to pull? Councillor McLeod.
8.2, please.
Okay. Go ahead.
I just very briefly want to say that I was actually at the unveiling of this magnificent donation. It is, and I did survive the mosquitoes because apparently they breed them on this property. And the Dunsmore family was so gracious and so proud of their legacy of giving this, but also the time that their family had spent on that land in Springwater Township, and knowing that it will be protected forever was really, really important to them, and it was quite nice to see. And so as our council's representative on the Nottawasaga Valley Conservation Authority, I was proud and honored to be there. That's all.
Thank you. All right. Unless there's any comments or questions, we will move on. We do not have any reports or minutes of other committees or boards, so we will go to the Strategic Initiative Standing Committee meeting of June 17, 2019. At 10.1.1, the Strategic Asset Management Policy. I'll hand it over to you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. So I have the next three. So the first one being moved by me, seconded by Councillor Jeffrey. Be it resolved that staff report T 2019-14 be received and council approve the strategic asset management policy attached to this report. And further, the council directs staff to publish the strategic asset management policy on the town's website as required by Ontario Regulation 588-17.
Council, any questions or comments before I call the vote? Seeing none, all in favor? That is carried unanimously. Deputy Mayor, 10.1.2.
This one again moved by me and seconded by Councillor Jeffrey. Be it resolved that staff report PW 2019-11 be received and council authorize the increase of budget for the sanitary renewal project by a total of $170,000 for a total construction portion of the budget of $1,170,000. And for the public's interest, this is the project on Napier Street north of Hugh.
Council, any questions or comments before I call the vote? Seeing none, the only comment I would make is that of all the projects we've been undertaking in this town, certainly since the time I've been on council, I think this may be the second time we've gone over budget at the tendering process. So while it is unfortunate, it is a rare event, and and this is a large project. That is more than just a sewer line. It covers street, other services, as well as sidewalks. So it's a large project. So with that being said, I'll call the vote. All in favor? That is carried unanimously. And then the Standing Committee report, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. So lastly, moved by me, seconded by Councillor Jeffrey. Be it resolved that council receive the Strategic Initiative Standing Committee report from its meeting held June 17th, 2019 as presented.
Any questions or comments, Council? Seeing none, then I'll call the vote. All in favor? That is carried unanimously. And that takes us to staff reports on the Development Operations Service Standing Committee meeting of June 17, 2019. Chair Jeffrey.
Thank you, Mayor Saunderson. Firstly, moved by me and seconded by Councillor Doherty. Be it resolved that staff report P 2019-26, an analysis of Collingwood's inventory of potential residential units, be received. It was a very comprehensive report by our Director of Planning, Director Farr, and his team, which in summary gave us information on having the inventory to achieve the population targets by 2031, but there are a lot of conditions that may see that not happen, and then as well with 2041 targets, again, we may or may not, depending on certain conditions. So very difficult to predict at this point, but a very good report on assessing where we have those resources. So.
Thank you for that. Any questions or comments, Councillor? Councillor Hamlin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, I have a question to Mr. Farr, and I wanted to thank him again for the thoroughness of his report. I noticed that his estimate, Mr. Farr's estimate, is almost 6,000 potential residential units, and some of these range from ready to go to applications are in for them, so they're not all building permit ready, but altogether there's about 6,000 potential units. And it's also estimated that if we take our highest average years for building permit issuance, it's been the last 5, which gives us an average of 300 units per year. So just dividing 300 into 6,000 units, we have approximately a 20-year supply right now of potential units. We have 12 years until we get to 2031, and I know that from the report, we're waiting for the numbers to come down for us as to what our target will be for 2041, but that's 22 years from now. So all to say, we probably have a lot of units in the pipeline. And I did note Mr. Farr's comment that we probably don't need, at least in any short-term sense, to take any more land out of our greenfield for residential. But my question is, with a 20-year supply of units, do we see during our official plan review some look to phasing this? Is that something that we may have to look at?
Director Farr?
Through Mr. Mayor, Councillor Hamlin, this is a complicated question. As underlined in Mr. Bryan's report, the arrival at full, build out of these 6,000 units is subject to a whole series of different caveats. In the interim period between now and 2031, in fact, in the next few years, there'll be a further population allocation in municipality to 2041. The phasing, I think, of development as it unfolds will potentially occur in a natural way relative to servicing availability and a number of other factors. So phasing is just as a consequence of the municipality's growth and how it extends services out to new development areas, a natural consequence of long-term growth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any other questions or comments, Council? Seeing none, I will call the vote. All in favor? That is carried unanimously. Councillor Jeff.
Thank you. Moved by me and seconded by Councillor Doherty. Be it resolved that staff report P 2019-27 be received and council enact and pass an authorization bylaw to execute a site plan control agreement for the Sunbelt Rentals development at 3 Greco Court. And for the residents viewing, that will be in the Van Dolders Industrial Plan subdivision, and while it will face 2 Mountain Road, vehicular access will be through Greco Road.
Thank you. Council, any questions or comments before I call the vote? Seeing none, all in favor? That is carried unanimously. In the bylaw.
Moved by me and seconded by Councillor Doherty. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2019-046, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a site plan control agreement for the development known as Sunbelt Rentals located on land municipally addressed as 3 Greco Court, Collingwood, between Best Pro Corporation and the town of Collingwood, be enacted and passed this 24th day of June 2019.
This is the bylaw to follow the authorization for the site plan control agreement. No questions or comments, and I'll call the vote. All in favor? That is carried unanimously. On to 11.1.3.
Thank you, Mayor Saunderson. Moved by me and seconded by Deputy Mayor Hull. Be it resolved that staff report P 2019-28 be received and council enact and pass an authorization bylaw to execute a site plan control agreement for the development of a parking lot at 124 Ontario Street, legally described as Lot 23, west side of St. Paul Street, part of Lot 55, south side of Ontario Street, Plan 282, as in CG 18664, Town of Collingwood, County of Simcoe, and 174 St. Paul Street, legally described as Lot 24, west side of St. Paul Street, Plan 282, Town of Collingwood, County of Simcoe.
Thank you. Questions or comments, Council? And let the record show that Councillor Hamlin left the room for as a result of the conflict she indicated earlier. Seeing no questions or comments, I'll call the vote. All in favor? That is carried unanimously. And then the bylaw, Councillor Jeffrey.
Mayor Saunderson, there was
Did you have a
some
question?
opposition.
All right. Sorry. Duly noted. Thanks.
And then the bylaw, moved by me and seconded by Deputy Mayor Hull. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2019-047, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a site plan control agreement for a commercial parking lot located on land municipally addressed as 124 Ontario Street and 174 St. Paul Street, Collingwood, between Gail Nicole Fargo, 2512536 Ontario Inc. and the town of Collingwood, be enacted and passed this 24th day of June 2019.
Thank you. Questions or comments, Council, before I call the vote? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Thank you. If you can just let Councillor Hamlin know she can come back. Great, thank you. 11.1.4, proposed Park Bridge head office.
Thank you, Mayor Saunderson. Moved by me and seconded by Deputy Mayor Hall. Be it resolved that staff report P 2019-29 be received and council enact and pass an amending zoning bylaw attached designating the lands at 70 Huron Street legally described as part of water lot in front of lot 44, concession 8, parts 1, 3, and 5, reference plan 51R 41426, and part of Peel Street north of Erie Street, registered plan 282, Town of Collingwood, County of Simcoe, as a site-specific downtown core commercial exception 5, C1-5 zone, in order to allow commercial development of the Park Ridge Lifestyle Communities Inc. head office. And just by way of a brief comment, Mayor Saunderson, the committee did express unanimously their appreciation for this developer's approach to engaging with the neighbors and listening to their concerns.
Yes, I heard the extra meeting went a long way in the redesign of 2 stories, as well as working together to clean up some existing drainage issues have gone a long way to making this closer to reality. So any questions or comments, Council? Councillor Comey.
Thank you, Your Worship. I think Councillor Jeffrey just touched on something that piqued my interest here in our package. So through you to Director Farr, I'm on page 79 of the agenda package, and where we talk about 2 residents submitted comments related to the loss of bird habitat, and then it goes on to talk about a bit about their landscaping plan. And it says something here, where as much as practical are required to be hardy native species. So my question is, how defined is that requirement that we have? Is it a schedule we provide? Is there a ratio we require of native to non-native species of planting? Could you maybe kind of educate me a little bit on that?
Dr. Farr.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, Councilor Coleman. There are development standards that are set out by the municipality, and to my knowledge, native species are always preferred, and this development is extensively landscaped, and I'd say on the high side of intensive landscaping across the property. The trees that would be planted would be more mature trees, not saplings or whips, depending upon how the prescription is set out in the landscape plan. But if you view the landscape plan around the perimeter of the property, there are mostly more mature, typically 60 millimeter, 6 centimeter diameter trees. And that'll all be further reviewed through the site plan.
Thank you. Yeah, it sounds very, very impressive. There's no doubt about that. I guess my question was related, if a landscape plan is very impressive and very thorough but contains 0 native plantings, would we have any requirement for it to contain some native plants or trees?
Dr. Farr.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, Councillor Comey, to my knowledge, and I stand to be corrected here, the municipality always requires native species. So I think this provision that suggests that our native species is an oversight in the commentary. You typically would prefer a native species because it's more robust and hardy and has greater likelihood of survivability.
Makes sense. All right. Thank you very much.
questions, comments, council? Seeing none, then I'll call the vote. All in favor? That is passed unanimously.
And the bylaw, Mayor Saunderson, moved by me, seconded by Deputy Mayor Hall. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2019-048, being a bylaw under the provisions of section 34 of the Planning Act RSO 1990 CP 13, as amended, to rezone property from the Recreation Exception 7 Rec 7 zone to the Downtown Core Commercial Exception 5 C15 zone to permit the development of a commercial business office be enacted and passed this 24th day of June 2019.
Thank you. Questions or comments, council? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? That is carried unanimously. Councillor Jeffrey.
Moved by me, seconded by Councillor Hamlin. Be it resolved that staff report P 2019-30 be received and council enact and pass an authorization bylaw to execute a site plan control agreement for the Shipyard Side Launch 2 townhouses, Side Launch Way and Emerson Mews, subject to the associated zoning bylaw amendment coming into full force and effect.
Questions or comments, council? Seeing none, all in favor? That is carried unanimously.
And then the bylaw, Mayor Saunderson, moved by me and seconded by Councillor Hamlin. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2019-049, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a site plan control agreement for the development known as Shipyard Side Launch 2 between FS Collingwood Development Limited, Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce, Aviva Insurance Company Canada, Ascan Investments Corp. And Fram Building Group Limited, and the Town of Collingwood be enacted and passed this 24th day of June 2019.
Questions or comments, council? Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Saunderson. Could I go back to the staff report? It dovetails.
Okay.
The question is specific to, did we get a response from the developer with regards to their agreement of purchase and sale and whether or not the permanent parking of the Heronic is identified? And if not, could we get it at some point?
Okay. Director Farr.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, Deputy Mayor Hall. The applicants agreed to include specific wording and warning clauses in those provisions to buyers, indicating, and I'll just paraphrase here, that the public waterfront trail, park, and Collingwood Harbor experiences frequent public use, including public boat access along the side launch and dry dock basins. This addresses the concern regarding purchasers being aware that there is a docking of boats in and along the public walkway.
Right. Seeing no other questions or concerns, I will call the vote then. All in favor? Oh, Councillor Doherty, you had a question?
I'm sorry, should that not be added as an amendment to this staff report then?
I think
It's
we've
not
got
reflected in
clarification.
any way.
Right. I think the clarification is in there. I'll look at Director Farr, and that's something that we will be requiring a site plan agreement.
Through Mr. Mayor and Councillor Doherty, when the matter was raised at Development Operations Committee, the question that was put forward was whether or not the agreement itself had to be updated, or whether there might be a more effective way of communicating to potential purchasers with the usage of the public area. And the applicant has indicated that they are going to be placing in their notice provisions this specific wording, and we're confident that they're going to do so, and that would remove the need to amend the agreement.
Thank you.
All right. No other questions? And I will call the vote. All in favor? It's carried unanimously.
Next, moved by me and seconded by Councillor Hamlin, be it resolved that staff report P 2019-31 be received and council enact and pass an authorization bylaw to execute a site plan control agreement for the Pretty River residents at 90 and 92 Raglan Street.
Thank you. Questions or comments, council? Seeing none, then I will call the vote. All in favor? That is carried unanimously.
And the bylaw moved by me and seconded by Councillor Hamlin. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2019-050, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a site plan control agreement for the development known as Pretty River Residence located at 90 and 92 Raglan Street, Collingwood, between 254-2803 Ontario Inc. and the Town of Collingwood, be enacted and passed this 24th day of June 2019.
Questions or comments, council? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? That is passed unanimously.
Thank you, Mayor Saunderson.
Yes.
And next, moved by me, seconded by Councillor Doherty. Be it resolved that staff report P 2019-32 be received and council initiate the official plan review to be undertaken in coordination with completed updates to the community-based strategic plan and in a phased approach respecting the outstanding reviews, plans, and other matters identified herein that may impact the review scope and timing, and that council authorize the issuance of a request for proposals for consultant services to lead the official plan review based generally on the form of the draft terms of reference attached, subject to any changes and flexibility as may be required based on the resolution timing of outstanding matters. And again, a very thorough report by our planning staff, and one that clearly shows that we have a lot of balls in the air right now with the provincial requirements. So,
Yes, thank you for that. Question or comments, council? Councillor Hamlin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to comment, and I raised this briefly at the committee level. As is pointed out in the report, the last comprehensive review of our official plan was 15 years ago. And the residential policies, which are primarily the focus of the provincial, part of what the province is looking at right now, were looked at only 5 years ago. But the rest of the document is almost 15 years old. And I am hoping that in our phased approach, that we do put some things ahead of others. And if we need to put the residential to one side because we're waiting for more details on what's required, we shouldn't forget that our roads plan is very old and doesn't even show all the roads we're now showing in individual subdivisions. And that we don't have any areas in our plan that is specifically set aside for head office uses. That we need policies for infill housing, that we need more policies around active transportation, that we have a waterfront master plan that's sitting on a shelf but could just be incorporated into an official plan review, that we have a PRC master plan sitting on a shelf that could just be incorporated into an official plan review. So I just wanted to make that comment that I hope we could move some of those things along. And I understand that the community review undertaken by the province right now could result in boundaries changing. And I was thinking about this over the last week since our committee meeting, and it made me think about the Toronto amalgamation, which of course was a huge exercise, but it did take some 15 years to harmonize the bylaws and some 8 years to get the official plan in place for the amalgamated city. And so I just thought, there's, if we as a community can sit down and say, what do we want our road system to look like? Where do we want our uses? How do we want this to work and that to work? We should do it now, because it will be a long time before even if we were to be amalgamated, and we don't have any information on that, it could be a long time before anyone looks at a consolidation. And we could have our own policies consolidated into that future document, possibly. So anyway, that was my own comment. Thank you.
Well, thank you for that, Councillor Hamlin, but I would say that my reading of the report is it does indicate that these reports are going to be integrated into the process, and I take some exception to the terminology that these plans are sitting on a shelf. The Parks and Rec Culture Master Plan was just done in 2018 and is in the process of being implemented. The Waterfront Master Plan, we're already kicking into phase 1, and we will be cutting ground this year. So all of these things are intertwined, and I take your point, but I think the report is quite specific in saying that these things are integrated and will be taken into consideration.
Sorry, just to respond, Mr. Mayor, I didn't mean to be derogatory. I just meant so many master plans around the province are approved by councils and sit on shelves. And I know that it is our intention to get ours, as I say, off the shelf and into a document that can be enforced and applies not just us, but to the private sector in some instances, so that was all.
And certainly I think we're working in that direction, and having just finished the walkable city book, I have to say that we check a lot of boxes of those requirements, and so I think we have exciting opportunities moving forward. And I did have a question for Director Farr, and that is there, in your opinion, a need or flexibility in the terms of reference to include the walkability aspect in the walkable city, sort of a walkable study? They did mention that in the book, and I just wondered if that's something we should be including, or you think is broad enough in our current terms of reference to include.
Mr. Mayor, I think that the terms of reference is broad enough to include that. One of the initial activities of the exercise will be to have further engagement with council to assist in ensuring that the scope reflects what council's direction would like to see in the official plan, and that would certainly make its way in through that avenue or through the planning as well.
Excellent, thank you. Well, this is certainly a massive undertaking and a very important one, given our growth pressures that we're under, and we look forward to pursuing this as we move forward. Any other, Councillor McLeod?
Through you, Your Worship, to, I think, Director Farr, but it may be actually to CAO Emin, whoever can answer it would be great. Our provincial government, of course, has taken summer off. The summer is ending for them sometime in October. And I wonder if we are expecting any information from Queen's Park regarding our future, because we're talking about this pausing and being sensitive to the fact that there may be changes coming from the regional review. Can either of you gentlemen provide an update of what you know regarding when we might hear something from the provincial government on this issue?
So thank you, Councillor, and through you, Your Worship. So I don't have specific timelines, but the legislature has recessed, but the government is still functional. I suspect that we'll probably hear something about the future of some of the planning documents in the next few months. Some of these things don't require immediate legislative approval. They are policy considerations, so I think we will probably hear more about the provincial policy and the growth plan, as well as potentially municipal restructuring, because those things in the initial round don't have to go through the provincial legislature. So the short answer is yes, but it may not come with the certainty that we're looking for, because again it would be proposals, and those proposals will not be concretized until they are placed before the legislature. In the case of the boundary adjustment, for example, that cannot be accomplished without an act of the provincial legislature.
So just to follow up, Your Worship, when you say the short answer is yes before October?
I think so, yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments, Council? Seeing none, I will call the vote. All in favor? That is carried unanimously.
Next, we have moved by me and seconded by Councillor Doherty, be it resolved that Council waive the collection of cash in lieu for the provisional consent to sever a property located at 52 Broadview Street based on an evaluation of the specific circumstances unique to this severance, and that any future request be considered on its own merits.
Any questions, comments, Council? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? And it's carried unanimously.
Thank you. And next up, moved by me and seconded by Councillor Doherty. Be it resolved that Council directs staff to prepare a report in regard to the heritage bylaw and how the issue of the demolition of heritage buildings can be addressed. And that conversation and motion arose out of the parking lot situation and the definitions available currently in that bylaw. So we're looking to clean that up.
Comments or questions, Council? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? And it's carried unanimously. And we are now to 11.2 other business. 11.
This
No,
is the
sorry,
amended
we're under
business.
that.
This is the amendment that was added to the agenda.
Okay.
Mayor Saunderson?
Yep.
Moved by me and seconded by Councillor Doherty. Be it resolved that council supports the recommendation of the standing committee to receive the presentation and recommend council authorize staff to work with Greenland International Consulting Engineers to continue a flood awareness and education campaign after the project is completed early next year, and any associated costs will be referred to the 2020 budget deliberations.
Thank you. Questions or comments, council? Seeing none, I'll call a vote. All in favor? It's carried unanimously.
All right, and then just before I put the report acceptance on the floor, I just wanted to comment that we did have another deputation on the power of place from Mr. May, and while our consultative process with respect to the boundaries and the governance review by the province is over, we did offer and have forwarded his comments on to the government for their consideration. And also for anyone who sees the speed at which we are able to move through these big files at this meeting, with the change and our committee meetings now being live streamed and being kept, you are quite able to go online and watch the discussion and a lot of questions that are asked on these files before they get here to the council table. So I just wanted to bring that up. And so with that, then moved by me and seconded by Councillor Doherty, be it resolved that council receive the Development and Operations Services Standing Committee report from its meeting held June 17, 2019 as presented.
Thank you. And just to pick up on Councillor Jeffrey's comments to the public, nothing can come to this council without first going through a standing committee. And at the standing committee, we have a much more flexible approach. So before an item comes for discussion before council, we invite the public to comment. So if you're concerned or watching particular items on the council agenda, I would encourage you to watch the standing committee agendas, because that's really your opportunity to come in and have a more interactive discussion with us. And then moving forward, if there's amendments to be made to that staff report, they would be made for council for the following meeting. So it really is at the standing committee level that you have your opportunity for your input. So we'd encourage you to follow the Corporate and Community Services, which handles things like Parks and Rec and marketing, the Economic Development Center, and then there's Operations and Development, which does planning, public works, water and wastewater, and so the heavy lifting generally gets done at the committee. With that being said, unless there's any other comments or questions, I'll call the vote. All in favor? And that is carried unanimously. And that does it for you, Councillor Jeffrey. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Staff reports, we have none. Motions, we have none. Bylaws, we have none. Notice of motion, I have one. And so I'll read in the notice of motion we'll be dealing with at the next council meeting, and I will speak a little bit to the background of this motion and the other business when I talk about the Great Lakes St. Lawrence Cities Initiative meeting that I just attended in Sheboygan. But the motion is, whereas the Great Lakes St. Lawrence Cities Initiative has made a plea to urge member municipalities to implement a ban on single-use plastics in an effort to protect our Great Lakes and St. Lawrence Seaway and furthering local support of this global issue. Now therefore be it resolved that council herein instructs staff to commence the process of eliminating all single-use plastics in municipal facilities and report back to council in 6 months to provide an update on the progress. Thanks, Sarah. Are there any other notices of motion? Councillor Doherty.
I'm sorry, this is not a notice. However, I'm just wondering if we can slightly expand the terms of your notice of motion. You're suggesting the elimination of all single-use plastics, and I'm wondering if we could expand that to all single-use packaging or utensils.
So I think
paper plates as an example.
Well, I think we're looking through our green initiatives at composting, so there was some discussion about that, and what I suggested is, why don't you come in and meet with me, and we can talk with staff about whether or not we expand the wording, because there's a 6-month report back, which will be looking at other aspects of this. So this is the thin edge of the wedge of a larger initiative. But I'm certainly happy to talk to you about that, and if we change the wording, we'll circulate that before the next meeting.
Thank you.
Okay. Council business, old or deferred business? Other business? Councillor Jeffrey.
Thank you, Mayor Saunderson. I'd like to ask council support a staff report regarding press parking passes for accredited media.
Okay.
And I just think that, yeah, they're cheering.
You're cheering, yes.
I do know other municipalities have the practice, and I know that I think it would be helpful to our media to pursue that through the clerk's office and see what we can do in terms of avoiding parking tickets when they're specifically doing municipal business.
Okay, and there may be a way, I don't know if we can broaden that. There was recently an issue brought to my attention about the ball hockey at the Eddie Bush. There was some things that were going out because it started before 5 p.m. So we were looking at ways to kind of massage our way around that. So I don't know if we can. Yeah. I don't know if you're comfortable with that addition.
Sure, I'm not sure I understand.
That's
Sorry.
We're just talking about the issues generally. For issue
Absolutely, sure.
do you have a seconder for that?
I do.
Who is it?
Councilor Burnley.
Councillor Burnley. All right then. Any questions or comments before I call the vote then? Seeing none, all in favor? And that is carried. Councillor Jeffrey, you're done. Councillor Doherty, you had your hand up.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Just by way of, first of all, complimenting staff on the excellent job that has been done this season for sweeping our cycling lanes throughout the municipality. I noticed on the weekend, riding around, that county roads, Poplar Side Road and County Road 124, where those there are bike lanes per se or widened paved shoulders for the use of cyclists. There is a lot of debris on those lanes, and if a cyclist is going to be riding out of the lane to avoid the debris, then the whole exercise is moot. So I'm wondering if I can ask you and Deputy Mayor Hall to take that message to the county that perhaps they could consider sweeping those lanes for the use of cyclists, especially as we get into the thick of the season now. And also perhaps through you to Mr. Velick, Beechwood Drive, which is another problem. Have we taken over responsibility for Beechwood, or is that still the province?
Mr. Miller.
Through your worship, the province still has jurisdiction over Beechwood Road.
So that would be a message to the province then, a request to the province to ask for sweeping?
Well, with respect to the county roads, I think the Deputy Mayor and I can relay that message, and we'll make an inquiry of General Manager Kolnick, who is also a cyclist, so we'll see where it takes us.
He'll get it, okay, thank you.
Other business over on this side. Councillor Hamlin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to take a few minutes to report on a presentation discussion that I attended several weeks ago. It was hosted by our Business Enterprise Center. And by way of introduction, perhaps I would just say one of the things I've enjoyed over the last few months is meeting with a lot of our local businesses. Very smart and talented owners and managers, all kinds of businesses. Many are high tech. And in fact, one company, as many of you know, of geniuses, designs specific robotic solutions for other businesses. Anyway, I've just been amazed by all the businesses that are here. But one thing that I have heard from every business is the same issue, lack of the younger generation to fill jobs. The jobs I have heard that are needed are on every front, from translators to sophisticated manufacturing workers, to engineers, to bookkeepers, to computer programmers. And Mr. Mayor, last week you were one of us council members who were at one business that has 1,000 employees, only 200 in Collingwood, And when they came time to expand a few years ago to add another 200 jobs, they moved to another community in Ontario for that expansion because they wanted to have access to a larger labor pool. So this is, to me, and I'm sure for all of council, is one of the largest challenges we face as a town. So what this leads me to is this conference I attended, or session I should call it, called Youthful Cities. And as I said, it was put on by our Business Enterprise Center. It was hosted by 4 area municipalities, and I was fortunate enough to be there. Now, the main presenter at the event was a gentleman called Robert Barnard. He spent the last 25 years working around the world with youth, and during that time he realized that although there were lots of surveys being done on what makes a great city, on every measurement from happiness to health outcomes, no one had looked at what attracts the youth to a great place to live. And he looked at youth between the ages of 15 and 29. And so he decided, because there was a lack of data, he would form a company and develop that data. So he surveyed 20,000 youth in 40 cities around the world, and he used that data to look closer to home at 13 larger urban areas in Canada. And as a result, his phrase, youthful cities, was coined. And in it, a youthful city is defined, in his reports, youthful city is defined as a city that has managed to have something going for it in all of 20 key indicators. And to be, that city also would be really good in a couple of them, or at least one. And so the 20 key indicators, I'm gonna look at my iPad here because I just got today his 2019 Canadian Index survey, because it's just come out. And there's 20, and I'll just read through a few of them. So these are for youth in Canada in 2019 in these major centers. So the top ones, there's very little difference between them in terms of what youth thinks are important. The first one is environmental sustainability, and then an affordable city, a safe city, gender equity, access to health services and information, access to parks and public space, high youth employment, access to transportation, diversity, access to education, civic engagement. And I'll stop there because he focused then a lot about youth advisory boards, because what the civic engagement component speaks to is whether youth can influence the political leaders. And so he said that Southern Georgian Bay was rather unique in his estimation of not having a youth advisory board of any kind. And I think we've discussed that briefly at council here. So I'll just go on. Travel and access to other cities, access to financial services, thriving local economic profile, digital access, vibrant music and nightlife, a great creative art scene, access to entrepreneurial space and support, great film culture, thriving local sports scene, and a thriving fashion scene. What I really learned was that by offering what young people consider important where they choose to live, maybe we could attract more young people to fill all these jobs that we have. And we can start and grow more businesses. And we have so many young people that leave here and go off to complete higher education. It would be great if they all came back and had their families and made their lives here. And young people bring in the words of Robert Barnard, prosperity, adaptability, openness, entrepreneurship, happiness, and growth. All great things. So why I'm raising this tonight is I wanted council to start thinking about it because I just think it's such a great idea. Mr. Barnard, although he's based in Toronto for his business, he has a home in Creemore, so not so far away. And I hope that we can have discussions around this topic on two things that I know council will be dealing with in the next year or so. One is our renewal of our strategic plan, and of course the other are discussions around the creation of our new official plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other business? Councillor Coleman.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, Councillor Hamlin. That was really enlightening and informative. I enjoyed that. Thank you. The first is through you to Mr. Valek. We've been delighted to hear so much tonight about walkability and touching on how our kids are all out of school. And then Mr. Valek knows we touched on the fact this council won't meet again until July 22nd. So I would be delighted to hear the latest on our much anticipated Hamilton Drain crosswalk.
Mr. Bell?
Through your worship to Councillor Comey, so the tender for that closes this week. We anticipate that the project would start July 8th and perhaps could possibly end August 5th, depending on lead times for much of the equipment. We will begin our media blitz. We wanted to 1 month prior to the project completing for the media blitz, so it's fresh on people's minds when they encounter the new crosswalk, and we will be initiating that next week.
Very exciting. Our residents are delighted. And then a quick question, another topic came up a lot tonight. Councillor Doherty mentioned it as you do your worship on our engaged survey proceeds surveys closing on the 30th. Maybe our communications officer could give us an update on our current responses.
Adam?
Through your worship, as of today, we've had 800 responses on the asset sale proceeds survey. Residents are sharing ideas and feedback, and that survey closes on June 30th, so I encourage everyone who hasn't yet shared ideas or feedback to go ahead to engage.collingwood.ca to share your ideas.
And just to confirm, that's just one aspect of the public engagement. There'll be public meetings and other ways for the public to get their voices heard.
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, well, we've done a good job moving this agenda forward. So if there is no other business, I thought I would just talk a bit about the Great Lakes St. Lawrence Cities Initiative AGM that I attended in Sheboygan, Wisconsin, which is just near Milwaukee. There are about 120 member municipalities between Ontario, Quebec, and the 5 Great Lakes states in the United States. So basically, who was attending were delegates from each of those cities. Simcoe County is extremely well represented. Collingwood is a member. Tiny is a member. Midland is a member, as is the town of Wasaga Beach. I am a member of the board there by virtue of the fact that Mayor Geddes back in 2003 was one of the founding mayors, along with Richard Daley of Chicago and David Miller of Toronto, and as well the mayor of Tiny, George Cornell, who's also the warden of Simcoe County, was recently elected to the board. And the board consists of 12 members throughout all the member municipalities. The mandate of this organization is really to make sure that we steward our Great Lakes water resources well. These are the largest freshwater reserves in the world, and we share them across the border, not only provincially, but also with the United States. There are other federal organizations like the International Joint Commission that involve Canada and the States, but this is really the boots on the ground perspective, I think. And right now they've been working on a number of large initiatives, one of which is the plastics in our Great Lakes. While they are not mounding into floating islands like they do in the ocean, they actually break down, and the plastic particles, they call them nurdles, find their way into our food chain, and they are killing our wildlife and making them inedible for us. So it's a very big concern, and it's one I think that we can address quite simply through responsible stewardship. So that was really the genesis of the motion tonight, and that was made as a result of a resolution that was passed at the Great Lakes St. Lawrence AGM. There were 5 or 6 resolutions, all of which were looking at preserving the environment, protecting our water source, as well as invasive species. And there's 4 species of the Asian carp that are making their way up the Mississippi to the Great Lakes, and our window is closing to work on that. So there is a dam, a physical dam being, or barrier being considered for a city in Illinois, and we're hoping that that will move forward, and it will cost about $400 million, and it is being constructed by the U.S. Engineer Corps. So the resolution there was to push them to go forward, because they are now looking at doing a 6th study, and I think the simple answer is these animals are moving forward up the river and we need to stop them. What came out of the meeting beside the resolutions was sort of a global look at how we can work on climate change issues, from flooding and infrastructure problems, and when we get rain events, particularly in larger cities with paved communities, and the stormwater actually overtaxes the sewage systems, then they bypass. So that means that as well as the stormwater, wastewater is getting into our lakes, so that's causing further problems there. So it was an excellent meeting. The board meets 4 times a year, and if anybody wants any information on that, they can go to the website, the Great Lakes St. Lawrence Cities Initiatives.org, or they can contact me. I'd be happy to share it with you. But seeing that 6 years ago we were concerned about our low water levels, and now we have the highest levels ever, we are in a different world now. So we need to be responsible, we need to be proactive, and we need to protect this great resource through stewardship and other measures. So green infrastructure is really, it's not just a tagline, it's an important thing. So we're pushing forward with that, and I'm happy to talk with Councillor Doherty, but that notice of motion is really the beginning, I think, of a larger initiative, and our staff has actually got there ahead of us. So they've got a green committee already working for us. So these are important issues for us as a waterfront community, where we draw our fresh water, our drinking water, and where our wastewater ultimately makes its way back once it's gone through our very extensive cleaning processes. So that is it for me on that, and with that, who has the confirmation bylaw today?
I do. This is the quickest meeting we've ever had. Thank you very much. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor McLeod. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2019-051, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the regular meeting of council held June 24th, be enacted and passed this 24th day of June 2019.
All right, unless there's comments or questions, I'm going to call the vote. All in favor? That is carried unanimously. Councillor Jeffrey, you want to say anything about an adjournment?
We're out of here.
All right. All in favor? Done, folks. Thank you very much. And good night at home.